I'm going to share with you two fascinating studies on one of my favorite daily habits, which is drinking tea. And on a very recent analysis from the UK Biobank published in 2022, they followed almost 500,000 people aged between 40 to 69 for a period of about 11 years. And researchers found that those who drank 2 or more cups of tea per day had a 9 to 13% lower risk of mortality from any cause, including heart disease and stroke, compared to people who didn't drink tea. And another study that I wanted to reference, this is one that I think is pretty remarkable, is that they combined part of that, the Biobank, with a Chinese cohort. And they looked at people who went from not drinking tea to becoming regular tea drinkers. And on average, these new tea drinkers were drinking about 3 cups a day. These individuals showed slower biological age acceleration. Wow. In other words, their biological clock appeared to tick more slowly than those of non-tea drinkers. So what's the takeaway here in terms of these two studies? It doesn't mean that drinking tea will make you live longer, but it does suggest that having a tea habit could be one simple way to support long-term health. So why do you think, why might this be true? And I've done some studies on this myself. And I'll get into this a little bit later, but tea has this thing called a polyphenol. So polyphenol is basically an antioxidant with anti-inflammatory characteristics and properties. And we all know that high inflammation can lead to disease, can lead to cancer, can lead to tumor growth. So when you have tea that's rich in polyphenol and you combine it with L-theanine, which is an amino acid that it also contains, this dynamic combination can really help reduce stress. And specifically, L-theanine, which is in tea, actually can cross the blood-brain barrier, which affects our alpha waves in our brain. So it really helps us feel more calm. And pair that with caffeine, it doesn't give you that jittery energy that you get from coffee, but it's a stable, calm energy. And some of my friends would call it a bright energy. So you feel awake, you feel calm and awake, opposed to super hyper energy, right? So non-jittery energy boost would be probably a better way to refer to it. Some other research also suggests that polyphenols can help support healthy lipid metabolism. So if you have a diet that's higher in fats or meats and oils, while more studies are needed in this area, you can say that 2 or 3 cups a day could probably help you with maybe some of your biomarkers. So that's something to look into. Maybe if you just came out of your yearly health check like I did, and you're like, you know what, I'd like to try tea, maybe having 2 or 3 cups a day to see if I can drop my cholesterol level. Try it out and go back and get the test the following year and see if you improved your cholesterol or other markers. I can contest to the benefits of tea from a personal basis. It's anecdotal, but I have been consistently drinking tea for the last 10 years. In fact, I drank only tea for 10 years. And my journey into tea started when we had our daughter, and I decided to have the household be sober. And I thought that the relationship with coffee wasn't healthy. It was making me too jittery and too hyper. So we switched to tea, removed a glass of wine or 2 at night. And, tea was my only drink that I had in meetings to celebrate at a party. It got to the point where I brought my own tea to every party I would go to or every social gathering. I would bring the tea to the restaurant because I didn't like the tea they served me. And I drank a specific type of tea I really started with English breakfast tea. And then I went to Earl Grey. A majority of my tea now is from the higher mountains of Taiwan, and I call it alpine tea. And my personal belief and the research I've done, this is anecdotal to myself, is that some of the tea that you get from higher elevation, the farmers use less pesticides. So for someone like me who drinks a lot of tea a day, I want to make sure that I'm getting my tea from farmers that are not just farming with less pesticides, but farming plants that have higher values that can help my health, right? Like higher polyphenol, higher L-theanine. I don't necessarily need higher caffeine. And I think the tea I get fits the bill in that accord. And one thing I want to note to everyone is do your research, even if it's organic, non-organic, find out who the grower is. Where is it from? Where's your tea from? Don't just say, oh, from this area. Be specific. I know exactly where my tea's from to the plot of land and where geographically it's located in the mountains. I actually have pictures of it. And the reason is I drink so much of it. And if we're making all this effort to make sure that we're eating right and we're consuming the correct supplements, it's our own responsibility to do the diligence on the type of product we put into our body. Just like you're going to say, for those of you who are vegetarian or meat eaters, you're going to say, well, I want farm raised or pasteurized, or I want organic or specific type of soil, etc. And I respect all of that. Same goes for tea. You got to make sure you do your research because it's something you're going to put in your body on a daily basis or, on a weekly basis. What's our takeaway for today's episode? Drink lots of tea. I brought some tea just to show you. So I drink tea leaves that bloom inside a pot after it grows, after it's steeped in hot water. So you can see that. So the stem is on it. It's like a real tea leaf. And you can see its beauty. So I steep this in hot water 3 minutes and I pour it in a glass, and it's pretty much green tea with a little bit of orange texture sometimes as it oxidizes. Before I go to bed, I normally put some tea leaves into a glass. They're rolled up. Usually they're curled up. And after a night of steeping, they open up. And you have fresh green tea in the morning. It's perfect. So if you're a cold beverage person in the morning during the summer, have some iced tea when you wake up that you brewed yourself. It takes about 8 to 12 hours. And you get all of the benefits of the polyphenols, the L-theanine, the anti-inflammatory characteristics. So it's wonderful. If it's winter, it's Christmas, and it's cold outside, steep some hot tea. Teas are everywhere. I hope you enjoy the journey. Try them all because what I like may not be something you like. And I know you can be really specific with taste and the aroma of tea. But that's the wonderful part, right? Take 3 to 5 minutes a day, steep your own tea, make your own tea, get your own teapot, and enjoy the process and use it as a moment to kind of meditate during our very busy lives. Wonderful. And invite a friend over, have some tea with them. I think that's a culture that you can do digitally too, have your Zoom meetings with tea. Well, wonderful. Thank you for attending this episode. Hope you find this episode helpful.